Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast, where six mates unpack 3 topics over a new drink each week. Fuck it, just go with that. We'll fix it if it's...
And we're live.
No.
Well, we're not live, are we? Well, we're live right now for us.
Fucking hell.
Not for everybody.
So
though.
is the person listening.
Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast. And we're down a couple of members today. Maddie, Magic Matt, and Justin are currently in Singapore chasing down Gary V, so good luck to them.
Gary! Don't run away! I want a selfie, Gary. I want a selfie.
But...
Marco was a late.
Oh yeah,
And back.
Marco wasn't going to be here, but he certainly is today. He's across the room from me. Oh, we have an extra special guest today, and somebody who we may be hearing more of in the next... Well,
Oh, you're going to release
that? Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Jacob, who's been on the podcast three times, I think, before. So
extra
4
special guest.
Extra, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're not even a guest.
It's part of the furniture now.
Yeah. Jacob Moffit from Movement Co. Hello.
Thank you. Glad
And
to
of
be.
course, we have our...
He's hiding behind that screen. Hi, Jacob.
To my left, we have Travis Hayto.
Hey.
And opposite me, as mentioned before, Marco.
Hello.
On the big boy's mic.
Yes.
And
Because
on the
normally
oth-
I can't see past the guards because they don't go down.
Well, let's see if you know how to use it better than what
Matt.
Matt Hannum does.
Yeah.
And on the other big boy mic, we have Swaggy C, Conrad. How are you today, Conrad?
I'm well, Michael. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
I'll try to keep very, very soft in the corner over here.
For
It's
like
quite a
30
nice
seconds.
voice,
Yeah, well,
actually.
that lasted
That's
long.
not bad, yeah. And I am hosting today, so I brought the drinks in, and
Yeah, go.
Travis wanted a beer today. And luckily, I did bring a beer, but unluckily, it has no alcohol in it.
Well, it's probably lucky because he's got to play.
Yeah. I am currently doing Dry July, so I thought...
Oh,
That's why, didn't you? Come on. So I've brought in...
Well done.
I'll try and pronounce this now. Weihenstephaner
I knew him.
Premium Bavarian alcohol-free beer. A German beer. And I actually had this the other night at a restaurant up in the northern suburbs, and it was okay. Usually when I do Dry July, I've not touched non-alcoholic things because I think it's a bit of a...
That's like those
It's a
smokers
bit-
giving up
Yeah,
smoking,
exactly.
putting nicotine patches on your arm.
But I thought I'd try one at this restaurant the other night, and it was really nice. And because this is, obviously, we bring drinks in for Simple Minds, I thought, here
Well,
we go.
we have had coffee and we have we had juices here before? We had kombucha.
We've had kombucha.
Yeah.
I brought in Sampel.
Yeah. So there has been some,
Soda.
but this is like weird non-alcoholic sort of...
This is like a nicotine patch.
Yeah.
It is.
Stick it on your arm, Mike.
Hey, while you're opening those, Doug,
Yeah.
I've had a few texts over the last couple of weeks of
Oh.
people sending in thanks for, I don't know, just stuff that we discuss and it helping them out. And I just realised that I never actually, while I'm recording, ever take the time to thank anyone for actually listening. So if I do know you and you're listening, even if I don't know you, thanks for listening.
And if you're in India, we love you.
I love hearing when people find something ususeful. I didn't realise how much I would enjoy, but over the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple of texts that have been really quite profound for me. And so thanks for letting us know that you're listening.
Thanks, Marco's Network.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point, Marco. So
Thanks
we
to
opened
everyone's
beers.
network.
Can we
I'm guessing your network listens to it.
Thank you to our
I
fans.
think so.
Mine does. Trav, do you have a network?
No.
He's a hobbit.
So guys, cheers.
Cheers.
It's ice cold, by
Cheers,
the way,
lads.
which is at least something.
That's true. An improvement on the warm beer I used to drink, so...
That tastes all right.
We're not tagging these guys in it, are we?
No, I don't think so.
No shout outs to these guys, Conrad?
No, it's fucked.
Oh,
Come on, it's not that bad.
I like it.
It's a fake beer.
And I'm I'm happy to be on the Dry July journey with
Yeah,
you
man,
for
thanks.
this afternoon.
I respect your Dry July. I just think it's a nicotine patch.
It's not too bad. I won't.
It would be thirst quenching, I
Yeah.
suspect, on a
Are
warm
you
day.
raising money?
I've raised a little bit of money, yeah.
Oh, you got a link or something?
I can put a link in the show notes for Dry July. It will probably be August by the time this comes
Yeah,
out.
true.
But
I reckon I'll get placebo tipsy. For some reason, like within the first couple of sips of any drink, I always feel like I'm drunk already straight.
Yeah.
So I reckon I'll just get placebo tipsy.
let's go.
Cool.
Content today is our special guest, Jacob and Conrad. But I think, Jacob, over to you.
Fantastic. I guess I've been a long time listener since the inception of the
Long time
podcast.
listener, first time caller. Sorry.
It's the funniest thing you've said in how many episodes we put together, Trevor?
20, I think.
Sorry, Jacob.
20, right? Way more.
And I guess I know the backstory of a lot of you guys, and kind of having known you and had breakfast with you guys for the last year or so, but I know a lot of our listeners perhaps don't. So I wanted to share the story of how I got on the path of entrepreneurship, and
How
see
dare you use your mic time to talk about you?
and see if there's any similar stories in the room. I guess we hear a lot of the stories of people like Gary Vee, and they tell these stories of since they were a kid they were selling baseball cards or selling soda or like getting
Dropped out of
lemons
school,
and making
dropped out of
lemonade.
college.
And
Yep.
kind of it's a born characteristic that they kind of always had. Whereas for me, and I guess for a lot of people, it took someone to shine a light on it and reveal that part of you to actually go, yeah, cool, that's something I can actually pursue. So for me, I was at uni studying engineering. That had always been the path that I was kind of going down. As a kid, I was good at math, science, and economics, and I thought, cool, go do engineering and commerce. It's just... so I went to uni, I was studying, and finally part of the commerce degree was Entrepreneurship 300, one of the kind of core units.
Yep.
I mean, cool, that sounds pretty good. Looking forward
Really? It
to
was
that
called
one.
Entrepreneurship 300?
Yeah. Yeah.
300.
Why 300?
X. Should have been.
Don't know, it should have been 100. There was nothing beneath it. But jumped on that course. The lecturer, Louis, was sort of took a liking to me fairly early on. I was one of the sort of more, I guess, mature age students, even being in my kind of early 20s rather than being 17.
Did the lecturer actually ever have a business? Do you know the background of the lecturer?
No, that'd be I guess a topic for another day. Is the
Okay.
can you teach versus learn entrepreneurship? And like a lot of the guys there are professors and uni lecturers rather than business owners, but that's a whole topic for another day, I guess.
Sorry, Jacob.
That's all right.
Just
But
get curious.
if Louis is out there, maybe.
Call in.
Yeah, there's this turning point where we had to go out there and meet. We had to find an entrepreneur in a small business, interview them, chat to them. And I remember this guy, Bert, was running, it's called Aussie Sim. He kind of originally started in the 3 Mobile,
Yeah, I know
kind of
Aussie
was a
Sim.
big part of that, and then realised that roaming overseas, they used to go on these boys' kind of Bali trips, and roaming and the extra charges kind of was a problem for them they wanted to solve, so they started Aussie Sim to give you a chance to use your own mobile number, buy like a SIM card and kind of go be able to use your data overseas. Interviewed this person within probably from the start of that semester, having met Louis, this professor or the lecturer, to the end of the semester, only 2 to 3 months later, I'd dropped out of the engineering. I'd signed up at the Australian Institute of Fitness. He kind of didn't ask me, what do you want to do? He just sort of said, what are you passionate about? He said, we had to create a business plan for something we're passionate about that semester. So I went, cool. Fitness is something I've always been interested in. Is this something I can make as more than just a part-time job? Looked into what I'm interested in. And by the end of that semester, I had been convinced, cool, I'm going to completely change my career path from going down, becoming an engineer, to essentially becoming a personal trainer and seeing where that ends up for me. Got a ticket on what they call like Startup Weekend, which is sort of a thing they run at Space Cubed in the city. You go there Friday night, everyone pitches their ideas. On the Friday night, you kind of pull together organically 3 or 4 people around the kind of best ideas, and then all Friday night through Saturday and then into Sunday afternoon, you work, you kind of build this idea, and then you come together and present it at the end. They bring in a few kind of mock angel investors, and they kind of give you feedback on the idea, and some of them grow out of the weekend, others just kind of die there. But these experiences over 3 months, getting to know this lecturer, interviewing this entrepreneur, going to this startup weekend, pretty much everything around that 6 months kind of really shaped where I am now and kind of kick-started that journey for me. I guess it was potentially always there. It was just took
Yeah.
one person to shine the light on it. I know there's a lot of engineers that say, oh, it was that science teacher I had in year 11 that kind of piqued my interest in this aspect of it. So that was the question I wanted to put to you guys. Was there one moment or one person that kind of really changed everything for you, or is it something that kind of organically kind of grew over time?
Yeah. Well, for me, in a way, I was a late bloomer when it came to trying to discover what I wanted from an entrepreneurial point of view. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the entrepreneur word, I suppose. Even though I've been a business owner for 15 years, there's something about that word that doesn't sit right with me. But as a kid, I didn't really have any, or in uni and at high school, didn't have any mentors really. I didn't have, especially not in that type of sense, in a kind of entrepreneurial or business or sense. So I don't know, in my 20s, I mean, I'm 45 now, and my entrepreneurial journey, in quotation marks, has really only been the last 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Even though I said I've had the business for 15 years, actually working out what I really want to do and doubling down on it has only really happened in the last 3 years. So I think I've been a really laid back business person for a long time.
Yeah.
And my 20s, I suppose, I wasted a fair bit of it. So it's really great seeing you guys, in your 20s, hustling hard, doing the stuff, following your dreams, Marco, that sort of stuff. It's really good to see, and I wish in a way that I had done that at that stage, but man, I'm happy doing it now. So yeah, so not really any moment, but it's been a gradual building to my ripe age of 45, and I'm just loving the journey now, and things are happening, and my mind is in the right place, and I think it's always been in the right place, but it's I've got a growth mindset now, which is working, and lots of little habits have built up to where I am now. So that's my mini story.
Did you always knew you wanted to get into kind of graphic design and web?
Well, I mean, I studied design at uni, and at the end of it, worked in a bar travelled for a year, then came back to Perth and worked in a bar for a couple of years, and surfed and probably smoked a few too many things, and just my 20s.
That's why you like Nietzsche so much.
Well, so I mean, I look
Michael
back
Duncan over there.
I look back at that time and go, wow, what the fuck was I doing? If I could go back and tell myself, I'd slap myself in the face. But
Would you though?
Yeah, that's my question. Would you?
Probably not.
You're
Probably not. I mean,
pretty decent,
I've had a great life. I'm very, very lucky to have had the life I've had. But I hit 27, met Joanne. 20. How old was I when I met Joanne? 96. So 23 I was when I met Joanne, my wife.
Hi, Joe.
And she really did put me on a good path. Things started to happen for me once.
If she wasn't wearing that skirt.
The miniskirt, yeah. If you go back to a couple of episodes, you'll hear the story of the miniskirt. That sort of shifted my focus there. I had kids quite early. I mean, we've got an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old. So, and I'd started I was working in design for various companies, publishing and whatever.
But you go to focus on raising a family, right? So it's very hard.
Of course, yeah.
It's very hard to.
And the family was the
risk.
reason. The family was the reason I gave up my full-time job to work from home and work for myself. And the rest is history. From there, working from home, I've worked in various places around Perth for myself and in shared studios, and been doing my own stuff, and I'd never go back to working for somebody ever again. So in a way, it's been a slow ride to entrepreneurship, again in quotation marks, but a great ride, and learned a lot over the course of that time. So a bit of a different journey from the college dropouts, and I've never had the heart of an entrepreneur as a kid, I suppose.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in lots of different things, but probably I didn't really have a figure that I looked up to sort of drag me out of that, or to shift my focus in my younger years.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, Conrad, I'd have to point at you. You've been an inspirational figure in the last couple of years, which has been really good. And all you guys, like the age, like yourself, Marco, and Trav, and Justin, and Matt, we sort of range across, but the younger guys. And how old are you, Jacob?
27.
Yeah, it's weird. You're all kind of,
Jacob's the youngest.
Jacob's the youngest, and it's just brilliant seeing you guys do this sort of stuff and being on that journey with you, and I'm feeding off your energy. So
I said the same thing this morning. I caught up with one of the guys I mentored this morning, and I said the same thing about Travis and Marco. I said, what do you think I hang around those guys?
Yeah.
And it's not about what I give out. It's about what I get back from these guys.
Completely. I feel younger now than I ever have.
Yeah.
I mean, even health, everything.
I was just sitting there going, man, I've never stopped to think how bizarre I think it is that you have an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll soon have an 18-year-old kid. We know what we've been doing about 8 years ago.
My daughter's closer to age than to you guys than she is to me, obviously, which is,
And I'm
really...
just like, but I'd happily not... I just don't see you as a 45-year-old for some reason, you know?
A few wrinkles, bit of grey hair and not much.
Well, what hair?
Time hasn't been kind. No, I mean, so I'm on a brilliant journey. I mean, and just now I'm just getting better at it every year as well, every day, every month.
I think entrepreneurship, I mean, I guess it's interesting seeing you settle with that word, right? I mean, I'm not a massive fan of it either.
Because there's so many wanky kind of uses of it.
Well, in fairness, being in banking as long as I have, entrepreneurship was, or used to be, the occupation you never got paid doing. And then suddenly now it's such a voguey word, but there's a lot of people that don't get paid doing anything
of course,
that they call entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, trying to teach it is an interesting one.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole podcast, isn't it? Talking about
Trav's story's interesting.
I think I'm tipsy from the beer.
Me too.
You would be. Look at you two youngsters.
You.
My
Do you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur, Trav? Or did the pewter business turn you into an entrepreneur?
I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I guess I don't want to be the same, but I do not like the kind of wank behind the word. But I guess I probably see myself, as some sort of entrepreneur. Probably, yeah.
I reckon you've taken a solid step into it with the pewter business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
As a real entrepreneur.
Yeah, as a photographer, I just saw myself as a creative. That I kind of made income off something I loved.
And when we were chatting the other day, I can't remember where we were. Maybe we were driving somewhere. You were telling me about why you took on the pewter business. To teach yourself about
that's crazy.
Business. It was like a free lesson in building a business. And I was like, wow, that is an actual interest in that is actually entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And it stood out to me because I know that I am not one, and I know that it doesn't interest me.
Well, being an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
But are you not crafting or creating at the moment?
I am, but it's in a so I'd call it more freelancing or becoming more of
a definition on the word?
I don't know.
Let me grab it.
But I remember it standing out to me because it gave me a reference point for how I didn't consider myself to be one, because that whole building the business aspect of it isn't something that, like, I don't want a team under me. I don't want any of that. I mean,
okay, so let's get the definition of the word right. A person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. Dude, you're an entrepreneur.
Okay, so then you get down to the different levels of one.
Yeah.
And I think Trav is much more keen on it.
Yeah, I think that's relative though. It talks about setting up a business, which you are doing.
Yeah.
And it talks about profiting, which you are trying to do, and taking on financial risk.
But I don't want to degenerate.
The creative industry is a little bit different in that. But I'd see where you're going. I'll go into my history a little bit. I had my first business when I was 7. It was selling lemonade out the front of our house.
Mm-hmm. Really?
I had a lemonade stall, and then when I was about 9, I did a whole price list up for my family. I used to give them massages. $5 for a full body 1 hour massage, $1 for this, $1 for that. When I was 10, my brothers had started doing paper rounds, so you shut up on that. You shut up.
There's so much we could go with.
Yeah, so that. But when I was 10, I started doing paper rounds, and because I wasn't 12, I wasn't allowed to do it under my name, so my dad used to help me, and I did that until I was about 15. Then I went and did some bits and pieces around basketball and stuff like that. But when I studied photography, I always knew from the start. When I actually locked in, I was like, I love photography, and that's what I wanted to do, and I started studying it. I knew I was going to work for myself. I don't know.
Was there somebody that you, like the mentor side of things, that you looked up to at the time, or?
Well, when I was a kid, I think it came out of necessity a little bit. Like, I'm not saying that we were poor. Like, I was given everything that we could ever wanted, but what was instilled to us, we didn't live a life of luxury, let's put it that way. But what was instilled to us, like, if I wanted a Game Boy or something like that. I never got an allowance. I would have to work my way to it, or I'd have to do jobs around the house.
Yep.
I was never given money. So even from when I was 8 or 9, I was doing massages or like head rubs and stuff like that. Shut up, Conrad. To my mum and my brothers and stuff like that. It was to drive to get something that I wanted.
But all three of your siblings or two, your brothers, are all in their own businesses, right?
Yeah. So both my brothers, they both started out as chippies, roof carpenters. Scott's got a sort of recycling business within the building trade.
Good business.
Skip bins and that sort of stuff. And my brother's gone back to chippy work. But yeah, all three of us work for ourselves. And
What did your dad do?
he's a sheet metal worker, boilermaker by trade.
Yeah.
So he's worked for a company called Arcus Fabrication. But yeah, so he doesn't have the, I wouldn't say he doesn't have the drive. It's probably more of a thing. When we were kids, he wanted a stability to give us, an income. My mum, I think, has tried everything, from making essential oils to being a masseuse to every sort of business under the sun, but never really followed one through.
Okay.
So you could probably attribute our sort of want for doing something like that to my mum a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure. But definitely it's funny, Jacob, like when you put it in the group a couple of days ago, it made me actually really reflect on it and the path that I had even from a very young age to set myself up to be where I am right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's been born into me, but
Yeah, because you have one of those the stories we hear of people who have like the lemonade stand out the front of the house and people that'll get yesterday's newspapers and go and try and sell them to people. Like kind of the people that are just from a very early age know how to sell, how to kind of pitch ideas, whereas it's something that maybe like Michael just took me. I used to be, I guess as a kid, more of like a wantrepreneur. I never actually went and did any of these things, but I'd be walking to my friend's house or skating or whatever, and I'd be thinking in my head, if I bought a 24 pack of Coke for like $10 but sold them $1 each, I'd make $14 profit. I could always do the maths in my head, and I was crafting ideas. I just never followed through on any of them.
No execution.
So I guess
You are weak.
but because I guess in my mind and the family I was from, they were all like, and even my extended family, they all had professional careers. None of them were entrepreneurs, and I guess to me it was just that'd be cool, but I just never thought it was a possibility until I met one person. They kind of went, cool, no, you can do whatever you want, focus on your passion, see if you can make something of it, and kind of went from there.
None of my family ever ran. My uncle did actually. He had his own pub and a post office and stuff like that. And I always looked up to him as a kid as well. He was an amazing adventurer and sort of guy I really looked up to. So maybe he has had that subtle influence in me.
Yeah, you always have fascination. Reflecting now, I've got auntie and uncles that were always in business. I always had a fascination with what they did and how they did it. I would always be asking questions.
It's like mystery about it as well.
So it could be that sort of...
And you see the freedom that they may have in certain areas of their life.
Or lack of freedom.
Exactly,
What about you, Conrad?
I know. I've got a new business for you, Trev.
What's that?
That's that.
Hayto's Happy Endings.
Hey, I've got pretty big hands, so...
Oh, man, that's so funny. They had so many openings. Me. Oh, man.
Are you eating now, Conrad? Because you've been
I was fasting up until yesterday, last night.
feeling good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, took a laxative. That cleaned me out.
What a great show.
No, okay, so talking about entrepreneurship, environment is important, right? I mean, I guess I've reflected on my journey a while over the last few years, and making money. I didn't get a lot of money growing up. I did get paid pocket money, Trevor, but we had to weed gardens, and God bless my mother. God bless my mother. She used to make us pull out grey hairs out of her head.
Wow.
Because she didn't.
Awesome.
That was a job. She's going to kill me, but that was a job.
That you still do to this day.
No, thank God my sister now just dies her for it. But going out and playing in the park, and we used to go out in the mornings and then come back at night, soccer, cricket, football, basketball, and did not want to come home. We had to go and get lunch, so we used to knock on doors and go and get the glass bottles and take them to the shops, enough money to earn, buy a pie and a drink, and so we used to do that. From there, I probably went and broke away and became a bit of a rebel, and I used to loot the deli across the road at the bus stop with lollies and fill up my lunchbox and go and flog them off at the school.
We have the same story, but I just didn't want to tell that one.
I'm not saying which bus stop. I'm not saying which shop.
Which area did you live in again?
Yeah, so I did a lot of that stuff. I got busted. I did get busted, and I didn't do it again.
But see, where I was smart was I had a friend steal them, and then I just brokered them.
Yeah.
So I was the middleman.
Yeah, middleman.
Nice. Mate, it was the penthouses that they got good like that. I was making good money on that stuff.
Were they used when you sold them, or what's going on?
No, if they're still in the plastic sleeves, you got better money for them. So I guess when you look back at making money, yeah, I've taken on a lot of risks to make money, but we're talking about traditional business. I've been around. My uncles have all been in business. I've worked for my uncles that have been in business, and little did I know along the way they were probably planting the seeds of entrepreneurship along the way with me. And I, to this day, I'm very grateful for the opportunities they've given me and the lessons they've passed on to me, and the opportunity to re-teach them the stuff they've taught me, which is kind of funny, which is what's going on in a couple of cases at the moment. But yeah, there was two cases. I mean, there was one when I was 16, had a conversation with a mate of mine, and we talked about what life looked like. It wasn't about business, it was about life. And then when I was 25, it was more a sharper conversation about, well, I want a business that looks like this. And, that was more visualization type stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've ended up being able to achieve it. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether it was a real decision to do it. My decision to go into business was probably a very selfish one. It was an interesting time of my life, and it's probably more selfish than it was aspirational. It's probably no reason why. Probably every reason why it failed.
What age did you get out of the banking game into business? Was that 25?
29.
29. So what clicked that?
Sorry, I lied to you, mate. 31.
31.
Yeah.
So what clicked that from going from mainstream banking as a financial advisor to wanting to start your own business?
Like I said, I think I was going through a pretty interesting change in life, and it was probably more protection than it was anything else. I was getting hounded by the managers within the banking industry about making money and profit and all this type of shit, and I just loved clients. And the other side of it was my partner at the time and I split up, and it was one of those things. It's the cathartic journey you go through and cleanse, and I really just wanted to just get some time for me, thinking going into business I get to control my own life, but going into business with 3 other business partners, I didn't get that, and it would I felt even more trapped. So that business failed, and then that's stage one of my life in entrepreneurship. 3 failed business, or 2 failed businesses really.
When you say failed, I mean just as in
partnership disintegrated. One business I've had to liquidate. That's been interesting.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah, so I mean I've scraped the barrel.
Yeah.
I know vodka's not made in barrels, but I've scraped the barrel.
Oh, you do now.
Yeah, exactly. What are they made in? Vats? I don't know what.
Well, you distill them in big, either column stills or pot stills, but they just come straight off and go into big containers, and you can get barrel aged vodka.
No, so you can get vodka out of barrels.
Yeah, but not the one you were drinking on that episode where you're like, oh, when it came out of the barrel.
Did that answer your question, Jacob? Did I answer your question?
Because I know I've had that experience of kind of like a distinct turning point, but I know that isn't always the case. Like Marco, for example, you were up to very recently you were a full-time kind of engineer, and then you dropped that back a little bit to give yourself a bit more freedom, and then probably within the last 12 months, I guess, since meeting you, there's been a distinct change in a full path change, and was that a moment or an individual, or was it just a realization?
Yeah, I think we talked about my story a fair bit on these shows. I feel like we have, or at least I always get really self-conscious when we do.
Because you're the one that's doing a lot. We're all doing lots, but you're doing like a lot.
And when you put the question in the group about who's influenced you to want to become an entrepreneur, initially my reaction was, well, I don't want to be one.
Yeah, fair enough.
And no one has inspired me to become one. And then I was like, but it could be argued that the stuff that you're doing is following that path. Mine was born out of I wasn't happy with myself and my situation at work, and mentally I wasn't in a good place. So when for some reason I realized that if I just kept doing the same things, I'd get the same outcome. So I started doing a lot of the opposite of what I thought I would do, or I started investigating things that pissed me off. And I remember the thing that kicked it all off in terms of meeting this group was I kept seeing this guy that I knew from years back when I used to serve him across a bar. He would post these fucking motivational quotes on his Instagram every fucking day. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, what is he on? What are you doing? And I was like, okay, I've got semi-connection with him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to find out.
Okay.
I'm just going to learn, because why would I be pissed off at that? Why does that annoy me?
That's really interesting.
Go understand it. So I reached out, set up a coffee, and we had a great chat. And he said, look, I hang out with a bunch of guys on Thursday mornings. Well, actually, was it just Travis at the time?
It was just Travis.
It was just Travis at the time. But then he pulled in a few others that were maybe in a similar sort of headspace to me. And we just started having conversations like the ones that we do on this podcast, essentially.
Yeah.
And what your question made me realize was you're just going to become the product of the people that you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at you guys. I don't look at Gary Vee and go, I want to be an entrepreneur. But you guys pushed me to think about what it is that I want to do day in, day out.
Yeah.
And then the quickest way for me to do that was to just go do it by myself. Because I need to build the skills up to say I want to work within a company making video. I've got to build those skills. No one's going to hire me if I don't have them already. So the quickest option for me is to go solo. And having seen you guys do it, having been exposed to the content that we discuss, I'm aware. I don't understand how hard it is yet, but I'm aware of it. But I also see that it's okay and it's rewarding and it's fulfilling.
Yeah, 100%.
And so there wasn't a particular moment, but it was the introduction of the group through, questioning why I was pissed off at Conrad's posts. Now, I still see motivational quotes go up on different Instagrams, but I know that with some of them, they're really real.
Yeah.
Some of them are really real because
Conrad,
because I speak, we might speak every second day or whatever, and I know the context behind each and every one. I know where your head's at, and I know the journaling behind it, and I believe in those.
Yep.
And I just changed the perspective by investigating. It's really quite a cute little story of something that really used to piss me off because I was in a bad place, to understanding it and valuing it and cherishing it and actually admiring it. And I do it from time to time as well.
Yeah. Do you think the fonts were ever an issue for you?
Yeah, they're totally an issue. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Check out Conrad's Instagram feed.
Some of the best moments have been when Conrad's been like, did you see what I did on Instagram? Michael's just pinching the bridge of his nose.
Get off the Tahoma.
What's a Tahoma?
It's a font that you probably use a lot.
Really?
Script sans serif, bloody my.
I don't understand.
I'm going to give you a font
it
factory
doesn't
bloody
matter.
lesson at some stage.
Yeah, I'd love to. That's pretty. Well, I knew that story from but it's humbling hearing it when you put it in context. Oh wow! I thought you were Pappy, mate. I felt old after that one.
Yeah. That was a good question, Jacob.
Yeah, that's good. And
We didn't bring him in because he was fucking useless.
Good looks.
I'd be keen to hear from anyone that's listening if there's been any sort of similar story, actually.
Yeah, the moment. If you can pinpoint the moment that you had a chance to change.
Yeah, or send us your mentor or the person. Was it through content as well?
Yeah,
you can. I've been really fascinated by the idea of how much you can be mentored by someone that you've never physically met.
Yeah,
just by consuming.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I mean, Warren Buffett for me has been largely a mentor by distance. I mean, from an investment perspective. You know, and I think it's funny because Nat Burton, who was on this episode this show a few weeks ago, I had a coffee with her today, and she was talking about the group that Michael, you've introduced her to
12
about
buckets,
and there's a girl in that group, which she goes, I'm about to meet her and do this, and then I'm going to go away. And I said, and what? And you can't stay connected to her?
Yeah.
And she goes, and then I'm going to be over there. I'm not going to have anyone like you guys to hang around and talk to. I said, and what? You can't stay connected to us?
Exactly. I said something similar the other day, actually, when I was like, I'm going to miss you guys when I go to London. And then you're like, you know, you can still engage.
Yeah. It's crazy. We live in a great world, right? And I mean, I'm very choosy about who I follow from who sits in my news feeds and around the place, because that's what I consume. And to be connected to a William Whitecloud and a Warren Buffett, and you can get connected to these people, these great minds are just there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good question.
Very good.
Wait, we didn't actually get to the point that Jacob's going to be taking my spot on the show once I go overseas, right?
Yeah, because Marco heads off in
3-4 weeks.
probably
3 weeks.
probably when this hits the airwaves. You'll be in London.
Yeah. Whoa, that is
that's
cool.
freaky, man.
Hello, future Marco
so it's-
listening in London.
So it's probably very fitting.
You are a dick.
Big shoes to fill.
Hey, congratulations, mate. I've been nodded up. It's been bestowed upon you to take the mantle.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we've got the... do we have the picture from breakfast? We should put that up.
We'll put
Yeah,
that
The handing over of the
handing
vase that
over,
we
yeah.
found on the table.
Artist sort of look.
And we just
And
did a
it
little
was a
ceremony.
decision we made, wasn't made lightly. I mean, obviously to fill his shoes.
We didn't actually ask the other.
They're pretty small shoes.
We didn't ask Justin or Matt, but we just made that
That's probably why there's a
Oh,
meeting.
Travis was.
We didn't call
That's
for
the first I've heard of it.
we didn't call for a fucking meeting, man. Let's have a meeting over this. Whatever.
All right, moving on. Shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, Conrad, I
Wrap
think
that
you're
up,
going to
Jacob?
chat about something.
Well, I've shared some content, and we discussed it over breakfast lightly yesterday. I don't think I did it any justice because Marco shot in the foot, but
No, I didn't.
I persisted with it anyway. Yes, you did. You said,
From an impact
I'll shoot
theory.
in the foot again then.
So I consume a lot of content, and Tom Villeneuve from Impact Theories I listen to a lot of his stuff. I just love the interviews. They're raw and they're real, and I've been enjoying a lot of his stuff. And he interviewed a bloke by the name of Alex Barnyana, who's an author of a book called The Third Door, which I haven't read yet, and I will get my hands on it because it sounded really interesting. It's about a 40-odd, maybe 50-odd minute interview, and I will drop the link in the show notes for it.
Yeah.
And I'd encourage everybody to listen to it because his journey and the story that he's got is extremely valuable. There's so much in there for every single one on different things.
Really emotive speaker as well.
Yeah.
I found
Yeah,
it, like
sort of pauses
very,
and sort of...
very like
Yeah.
just within his eyes, you could see such a degree of focus and like purpose in what he said. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's another piece in there which he talks about a bloke by the name of Chi Lu, which again is a phenomenal story, and we won't go into that today. The part I want to talk about was at the end of Tom's interviews, he always asks these people, what's the impact you're wanting to leave? As in contextually, what are you trying to leave on the planet? And we've talked about impact in our own variety of lives and stuff like that. And so it was interesting when the story he put on there was referencing a teacher in a school in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So we'll cut to the episode or the last 2 or 3 minutes now and let you guys have a listen. And then we'll open up to the floor. I just want to see where the guys sit with that. And it actually ties in quite well with what Jacob talks about. We're back.
We are.
So, how did that land, gentlemen?
Landed quite well.
Yeah?
Yes.
No, I think I was interested because is your point here for making sure that we're looking out for kids and the role models they have, or are you extending it to us as, who do we allow ourselves to aspire to be like?
Sure, I guess I'm not going to limit it. I think it's more bi-directional in that sense.
There's definitely a few levels in that conversation where we could talk. I think, the high stuff
Sure.
and then stuff that you could question the story, or I don't know, there's a few
So
things.
can I give you my take on it, and then we can go with wherever you guys want to go with this from what you took from it. Okay, I mean that's what I'm prepared to go with. But for me, when I listened to that, I guess And I look at you guys around me and look to the reasons why. And it's kind of funny with the conversation I had with Ryan this morning, and then the piece you put on earlier. I value your time that much that I sharpen myself to give you guys as much value as I can. You guys keep me honest, all right? And when I listened to that piece that he talked about, that young kid who drew the pizza delivery guy because that was the only male in his life that he could aspire to be like. You know, yes, it's tragic in a certain sense, but it's real. You know, we do set those limitations for ourselves, and, you know, I don't want for any reason for anyone around me to limit themselves, given the journey I've been on and the things I've been able to learn and pass on and teach people through basketball, through finance, through being a father, through being a brother, a son. You know, I value all of the roles I have in my life, and to illuminate branches is what I value doing. You know, so I guess that to me, it did hit a spot for me. And probably a more tragic one than what it might have landed with you, Marco. But it's probably the point that I like to make in the sense that I value turning lights on for people. And whether it's you doing it for other people or people doing it for you, can you see any value in that story?
I can definitely see the value in the illumination part.
Yeah.
The bit that I didn't
Well,
quite...
you're kind of doing it right now with Victor.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And I've got kids as well.
And you've got kids, yeah.
But the thing that I didn't quite get was that he said every kid will reach up to the highest branch. I thought, yeah, probably not every kid will do that. But I think if you illuminate and have it there, at some stage they may get up to that stage. But he said, you know, straight away the kid will always reach to the top branch.
Well, you'll only ever get to what you can
that.
see, right? Because fear clouds so much. The darkness of the unknown stops you from believing in what can be achieved.
Yeah, and the interesting part with that class was that he mentioned at the beginning that it was a pretty hardcore school with a lot of sort of poor families and whatever. So I thought that part of it was interesting. So the guy drawing the pizza thing, I didn't think was as powerful a symbol as he maybe made out to be. I don't know. That's what I sort of got from it.
But for a kid at, what, year 2, 3?
Yeah.
Can you put yourself back in that space and imagine if you were to pick a career? If you were to hear that from your children, what would you feel?
What wasn't a career? What did they say?
What did
Draw
you dream?
your
What
dreams?
dream?
Was
Yeah.
it? Yeah. What your dream kind of...
You draw a picture of your biggest dream.
Your biggest dream.
Yeah.
So if you were to ask your children that and that's what you got, how would you feel?
Yeah.
You fail them? That's what the teacher was coming from. They feel like someone was failing this kid.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
But
where I picked up
circumstantially-
on because when I've heard the story twice. Once when you told it to us
Which I
at
told
breakfast
probably pretty
yesterday, and then when I heard it spoken in the actual bit of content. My first reaction when you told me about it, Conrad, was I wish the response of the teacher would have been to understand the aspiration to be a pizza delivery person, because what if they really had a passion for pizza or the delivery service or any component of that to be the best person within that space possible.
I completely respect that part.
Yeah, and because I value that, because I've had, as you've been exposed to through the show, my parents have been like, well, you want to go be a bartender, then you go be the best bartender that you want to be. And I value that because I think everyone should have that comfort and backing from people.
But that's the only thing you can see?
Then it gets to the only thing you can see. I think I agree with the value of illuminating the branches.
Yeah.
I think I would be very interested to hear the opinion of someone justifying there not being value in
But you did it
illuminating
yesterday.
branches. What do you mean?
You did it with your work colleagues yesterday. Talking about your journey, you managed to turn a few lights on yesterday, whether you realise it or not.
Oh, yeah. So a little bit of context is I just had an open invite to people in the office to come hear about my reflections on leaving the company and sharing some unedited journal notes that I'd put together and my reflections on the basically repetitive conversation I had with people in the office, and we can chat about that some other time. But it was really interesting and quite a confronting.
But I guarantee you
conversation
illuminate
to
some
have.
branches with people.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people hit me up and be like, I'd really love to go for coffee because I have a bunch of questions
And that makes
about
you
what
feel
I'm
good?
going through. Yeah, it makes me feel good. And I'm sorry if I came across yesterday devaluing that aspect
No need to apologise.
Yeah.
I understand the context you're coming from, and I completely agree with your
There was
context.
there was different levels.
There was.
There was that deeper.
And maybe this is actually we'll go to maybe Jacob or Travis if you guys have some thoughts on it. But my have you?
Please go ahead.
It's funny. My mind jumped to okay, cool. So you can do it for kids. Make sure that they see everything and allow them to aspire to that. And then I thought, well, what about for me? And who do I let myself aspire to? And then started placing judgment on what I aspire to, which isn't to be a hugely well-known video, whatever, right? I just want to make videos every day.
Yeah.
So the aspiration, we talked about this yesterday morning, like the aspiration is to make people feel good.
Yeah. But I just found that interesting because I was like, okay, so is it a failure of my ambitions or is it just that I'm comfortable with that goal?
Yep.
I think you know the answer.
Yeah.
I do. But it was an interesting reflection to go through.
Trav? Jacob,
you said like you were going to say something?
I guess the bit I took out of it, and it was similar to what Marco was saying during my piece earlier, is that every individual over time is sort of a product of their environment, and their story is just driven, whether it's one person or many, it kind of just gets guided over time. And for this individual, not having any kind of male or positive male role models in his life.
Out of jail and off drugs.
That's it, except for perhaps this uncle that was a pizza delivery guy. That was all he knew.
Yeah.
And he was attracted not to being a pizza delivery guy, but being like his uncle, for example. And that's the context that you require is if he had a wealth of positive mentors and men in his life and he knew he could be a doctor or a lawyer or a photographer or a videographer or just anything he wanted to be, and he still said, I want to be a pizza delivery guy, perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
If that's the only branch that's available to him, and by default, and it's not always they defaulted to a pizza delivery guy or a garbage man. They're the kind of the examples people often make, but it also happens if you're born into a wealthy family and there's an expectation that you continue the business, or if you're born into a farming family as a male son, there's an expectation that all you know is all your uncles and family farm and that's what you're going to do. So it doesn't have to be the bottom rung of the social ladder. It could be like I listened to the very start of that interview and he said he was born into a Jewish family and was just immediately labelled, you're going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I think that's what he meant by MD. And there's a lot of families and cultures where that's the case. It's just, if you do anything less than becoming a professional, then that's unacceptable. So they're almost illuminating only the top branches.
Yeah.
And
everything else is a failure.
Yeah, to a degree, that's almost how I felt when I was young. It was, you have to go to university, you have to study this. And when I was a kid, I loved cars, I loved tinkering with stuff. I had a friend that did that. And I remember going home and going, I want to be a mechanic, and that was shut down relatively quick. I loved playing outdoors and doing stuff, and I was like, I want to be a soldier, and that was kind of cut down relatively quick as well. And I kind of still, and it only took this maybe one person once I was a little bit older, a little bit more independent to go, do you want to be it was initially just a personal trainer. I was like, yeah, that's something I'd never really put too much thought into. So for me, it was illuminating not the top branches, but the ones that were closer and more realistic than others.
I mean, he's got some good examples in the whole interview, right? He talks about Spielberg and how Spielberg fell into movies. Now, he got off a tourist cart and just hung out on studio for 6 months pretending to work there until someone said, called his bluff, and he got mentored by this bloke.
Can I, before we get to Trav's thoughts, going back to the episode with the dad came on, how are you going to father Henry having experienced those sort of shutdowns?
Differently. And like Ainsley, my wife, is really good at this, in that she was from a family that said, as long as you enjoy what you're doing, you can do whatever you like. And therefore she's helped mold me a little bit to kind of to start to break free. And when I remember that very distinctly, like where I was the moment I said, I'm no longer going down this path to becoming an engineer. I'm going to drop out. I'm going to go right back, become a personal trainer and build up from the ground up. And from her, she could have come from any other background that said, oh, no, that's not what I married into. That's not the life I was expecting. But she went, of course, I support that. So I've learned a lot from her because of that. And to answer your question, if Henry said, this is what I want to do, it wouldn't be what, it'd be the why that I would focus on.
Yeah, cool.
Why?
Good answer.
Why do you love that? Whether you're kind of sweeping streets or whether you're doing surgery on hearts, if that's what you're passionate about, if that's the thing you can put your 100% into, then I support it.
Doesn't Henry go to sleep listening to The Alchemist?
He did when he was, sleepless in the car. That was his first sort of audio experience.
So the season 25 of Simple Minds will be the next Santiago.
That's it.
Taking to their
Henry.
Henry.
My successor.
I just want to probably add to that a little bit and go more broader picture rather than kind of analyse the comment too much. And I'm just going to go down to what you said, Conrad, on your Instagram.
What font was he using?
Comic Sans. Thank you for leading me into my joke that I was going to make anyway.
Sorry.
No, that was perfect. It was good. And I think this is quite a beautiful way to look at this guy's sort of message.
Are you going to go through the quote?
Yeah.
Oh,
Check it out on, what is it? Is it
I knew I was going to.
is it Conrad Francis? That's it on Instagram?
When you change what someone believes is possible, you change what becomes possible. And like that, I know, Marco, you guys took a lot of different little things out of it, but I just saw it from the bigger picture, and I thought that was quite an inspirational quote. And then that kind of gave me energy for the next sort of 48 hours, and I was like, wow, like, you know, by just changing someone's outlook on what, you know, they think is possible, you know, you can change the goalpost for someone so not easily, but by something, you know.
No, I agree with you. You can change it easily if you bother to turn the lights on and challenge it.
Yeah.
The hard part is making them believe.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's your job.
It's putting it in front of them.
You can only put
just
the
like
seed
so
in
easy.
there and allow them to, let it grow.
Yeah.
We talked about that in the podcast a little while ago, about that you just keep putting it out there, and at some stage something
grows.
will
take. The conversation I had this morning, which was quite profound for Ryan Groves.
Hey, Ryan.
Shout out, buddy. Was how the world exists in paradoxes, and what you see and what you don't see.
He's on a real deep content binge at the moment. Like some of the things he's coming out
to a lot of Alan Watts.
So yeah, you're right, but it is that, you know. And I talked to him about I like talking about the moment that I value the most in any situation is when I know the choices I have. That's the moment I value the most. Is to give myself enough awareness to know what choices I have.
Yeah.
And I guess that's exactly by illuminating branches and challenging people. That's what you're trying to show them and give them. What are your choices? And for Henry, the same thing.
It's empowering them to enable them to make that choice.
Because they'll either do one or two things, and I think you can only ever do one or two things when you make a decision. And that is, it gives you the opportunity to relearn things you probably haven't learned before that would set you up to go on another journey, or go on that other journey because you're brave enough, courageous enough to do what you haven't done before, or learn what you haven't learned before.
Yeah.
What's the little saying underneath your logo on your T-shirt there, Jacob?
I was going to say this is one that's fairly close to my heart, especially the quote you had. Is that our vision for Movement Co is to help ordinary people achieve extraordinary movement, and our kind of motto is redefine possible. And for a lot of people, all they know as far as exercise is I run on a treadmill, I lift some weights. They see athletes or gymnasts or all these people doing those like handstands and things, and they go, that's not something I could ever do, or I'm too old for that, or I could never do that. we especially see it in a lot of the parents that come and watch the kids program. They see people in the background doing, like a 16-year-old doing a one-arm handstand, or people doing things on the rings, and they go, oh, that's cool, but no, I'm too old for that. And I'm constantly trying to break down that barrier, and we've been able to show hundreds, if not thousands of people over the last 2.5 years that, if you want to pursue something, once you decide it is possible for you, that's when it becomes possible.
Yeah.
And
Are we getting paid by Movement Code for this sponsorship?
Yeah, I was just like, well,
That's enough about movement code.
Well, I think we're good.
Yeah. Love it.
Excellent, guys. What did we... Anybody finish their non-alcoholic beer?
I want to get
I was
drinking.
getting
I
a bit tipsy here.
want to get
Yeah,
a glass
exactly.
of tea.
It's a big beer.
wasted. I like how we're replacing me with someone that left engineering for something else as well.
But Justin was also an engineer that left to do.
Yeah,
3D.
but he's not the replacement.
True.
But yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Justin, miss you.
Yeah.
Well,
Matt,
clearly
yeah,
you
we
don't.
sort of miss Matt, don't we, as well? Yeah.
No.
Sure. Okay. No. Well, thank you guys for today's episode.
Thank you, Michael.
No worries. And we will see you all next week.
Well, we won't see anyone, mate.
No, we won't
It's
actually.
just podcasting.
We'll see everyone here.
We will.
Champagne.
And
And I've got a real good.
Do I have to
thing
continue that?
trick for next
Oh,
week.
you do have to make sure champagne
Can
gets
you
set.
just practice?
yeah.
Champagne.
We'll
We've got a bit of work.
We'll
Still got a
work
bit of
on it.
time.
Okay, MD.
See you guys. Thank you.